Has this ever happened to you before? You buy or download an amazing game and you are very excited to play that game, so the next thing you do is sit down and relax and take your controller, or maybe it's a keyboard and a mouse, and then start that game. So you're playing this particular game for maybe a few minutes or few hours, and then suddenly you just quit. Just maybe it's the genre you don't like about this game, or maybe it's the way the game is presented to you, or it could be your specs, or maybe the story or the graphics, or the gameplay in general. No matter, the cause is, you start to lose the same excitement you had when you first started that game. And so, your brain tells you, why don't we play this later? And then, you either play this never or just uninstall the whole goddamn game. Maybe this is hard for you, or maybe it's just a skill issue. Whatever the reason is, we don't always finish every single game we start. But why is that? This is Retro and you are watching RETROVERZ, and here's why we leave games midway. This might come a little bit hard for someone and even for me, but games like ABP Reloaded, Destiny 2, or Call of Duty Warzone, or even games like Warframe, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and popular games like Angry Birds Go, Candy Crush Saga, Modern Combat 5, and so on that are paid to win, and it becomes harder and harder for players who want to enjoy games, not just want to pay every single time they want to play these games. Remember old games where you only had to buy a game for once and then just play however you wanted? Yeah, I miss that time when you could do whatever you wanted with a game after you buy that game. Not like now where game studios say you can't even own games anymore, and you should be comfortable with that. You should just live happily ever after and start giving them money recklessly. It's not always about the pay-to-win games only. There are old and new games like Dark Souls or Sekiro that are very hard and frustrating to play. Yes, these games were designed for players who likes a little bit of challenge every now and then, but people like me who likes to get relaxed by playing games, not get more stressed than how life is already giving it. It's easy to say that games like these are not our type. So in general, yes, skill issue is a thing and we should admit that and move on. What I'm trying to say is, we should play those games that we like. Challenge is good, yes, competition is good too, but as you grow older, you start to like playing games that doesn't always want you to grind 24/7 or pay every time you want to do something in a game. Games are supposed to be fun, isn't it? Players like me who doesn't have a console or a high-end PC, and in this modern time in 2024 when game developers are making games only for higher-end PCs and consoles and not caring about gamers who doesn't have a decent PC or a laptop or even a console but still wants to enjoy games even if it's at 720p resolution, yes, it's easy to give up on a game. Running a game is a different thing, and running a game perfectly is another thing. Suppose you have bought or downloaded a game, which has happened to me a lot, just listen to this, and yes, you have checked the basic requirements online, and judging by that, you think the game will at least run. So you waste your time and money by buying or downloading that game, and then when you start the game, you lower the resolution and the other settings, and then you just start the game, and for a few minutes the game runs just fine. But after the environment and the graphics starts to rise up, the game starts to lag, the frame rates start to drop, and you are ready to say goodbye sayonara to your PC. And by now, in 2024, where every AAA title games require you have an ultra-budget gaming PC and you have this potato piece of shit, yes, you can't game anymore. But yeah, maybe that's not the case for all of you who own a console or a decent PC, so let's just leave it at the poor fellows like me and begin the next chapter. It's really difficult to say how a gamer's brain works. I mean, for starters, let's say you started a new game. if it's a new genre or a new mechanic for you, then it will take some time for you to understand how things works, like the control system and the gameplay progression. There are games where it takes a huge time for the story to make sense, and there are games where in the starting there are lots of tutorials, and even if you do complete them, they will appear once again. Even after all these things, there are games that doesn't have any map or any sign that tells you what the hell you are doing in this game or where the hell you are supposed to go. Okay, so even if it does have a map, then the map will take a brain of an Einstein to understand. I mean, look at this game called Firewatch. The game literally gives you a real freaking map to navigate. I know this is how you complete this game, and I get that because I myself have completed this game like this, and I had an amazing time playing this game. But this doesn't work for everyone. There are gamers who just want simple instructions to proceed. Another great example for this is Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Remake. I myself have finished both of these games, but while I was playing these games, the map of both of these games has confused me so much that I can't even describe in words. A game like What Remains of Edith Finch and A Plague Tale: Innocence is where you don't really need a map, and whatever you are doing is making simple progress in the game, and this is how it should be. I mean, seriously, if you have played Resident Evil 3 Remake, then you will get what I'm trying to say. You have to run from point A to point B for something, then point B to point C, and then from point C to point D, and then point D to B, C to A, and that's just how complicated the game was for me. I'm just literally running in the whole map, and it's not even an open world game. Maybe I'm being silly, but playing games like this makes me bored, and sometimes I just feel like screw it, I don't want to play this garbage anymore. And yes, just like that, I have unfinished hundreds of games and never looked back. Now you'll say, haha, skill issue, but seriously, just like what I have said before, all I want to do is just enjoy the game. Why do I have to grind in every single game even though it has nothing to do with the story? Maybe I'm over-exaggerating things, but these things frustrates me, and I know there are other gamers like me too who also doesn't like these games, and they get this boredom and leaves those games midway. So, is there any solution to this problem? I say use mods. I'm not talking about trainers that allows you to cheat and get unlimited coin, ammo, jump speed, etc. That's up to you. I am not encouraging you to do that. But what I'm telling you is that games like Resident Evil 2, 3, 4 Remake, where you can use mods to change various costumes, use reshade to make the game look more realistic or cartoonish however you want, are the things that I love about modding, and that's just how the games feel fun to play. The modding community is literally the best thing that has ever happened to PC gamers. No offense to the console gamers, but if you have a PC, then you should definitely use mods, because mods can make the most boring looking games the most fun games ever. For example, you can see this Among Us mod over Nemesis on Resident Evil 3 Remake. Players may lose interest in a game for various reasons. For example, they may not find the story very engaging, or they may not like the game mechanics. In some cases, players may leave a game midway because a new game that they are more interested in has been released, and they just don't want to play that old game anymore. I mean, this happens to me all the time. I start a game, I like the game, I say I will play this game later, and then I start another game, I play that game, I like that game too, and then I save it for later, and so on and so on. And because of that, I still have hundreds of gigs of storage occupied by games I don't even play for months or years. But I still have those games, and I know there are other players like me too. So here's a request to myself and all the other players out there who have the same brain cell as me. My request is just please finish the game you have first and then start another one. Please, just please. There are a couple of other reasons too. For example, inadequate save points, lack of in-game guidance, poorly implemented difficulty levels, uninteresting game mechanics, etc. If a game is too easy, players may get bored. If it's too hard, they may get frustrated. Balancing difficulty levels is crucial to keep players engaged. If the core mechanics of the game are not engaging, players may not want to continue playing. This could be due to uninteresting combat, repetitive tasks, or lack of meaningful choices, and sometimes a game doesn't live up to the hype of the players' expectations. This can lead to disappointment and cause players to leave the game midway. If a game doesn't have enough save points, players may lose a lot of progress when they quit the game. This can be frustrating and discourage players from picking up the game again. And if you are a multiplayer enjoyer, then the lack of community or multiplayer support might also be another reason for you to leave a game midway. For some players, the social aspect of gaming is very important. If a game lacks a thriving community or doesn't support multiplayer gameplay, those players may lose interest. So in conclusion, there are plenty of reasons why a gamer can quit in the middle of a gaming session, like there could be personal reasons involved and also, which actually is most of the time, in-game problems. Games are supposed to be fun and enjoyable, but these days games are becoming sometimes too much boring, sometimes too much full of bullcrap. But hey, it doesn't really matter because we play games for fun. We should try to enjoy whatever gives us that fun. Even though we all complain, but in the end what matters is we all have fun and live a good life.